So this video, ahead of the hour record, is to talk about haemophilia. And haemophilia is something that I have. I have a type of haemophilia called haemophilia A. It's very simply listed like A, B, and it goes on, I think. But A is the most common, B is the second most common. It's pretty self-explanatory in that respect. But haemophilia is effectively when my blood does not clot without the help of medication. And that can be a problem externally if I was to cut myself, but it's more of a problem internally for internal bleeding into joints and muscles and such like. Put simply, the haemophilia, when your blood clots, there's 13 stages, if you like, and it's, for haemophilia A, it's the 8th stage, which I do not have, which basically means for anything, like if I was to get a paper cut without any medication, then my body would find a way around it. Your body's an incredible thing in that respect. But if I was to have a severe external cut or internal bleeding, my body would not be able to formulate the clotting process that's necessary for fixing that problem. Probably a more eloquent way of saying that. Yeah, so haemophilia, it comes in different severities depending on how, you could be sat there with a very extremely mild case of haemophilia, like where your clotting levels are above 20%. You'll never know this because that's enough. Milds and moderates are sort of in the low percentages, and severes like I am are at 0 to 1%, but normally 0. Brief history lesson, and please don't switch off. I know history can be dull, but this isn't. If I was born in the 1950s, my life expectancy would be less than 20 years with haemophilia, which is pretty mind-blowing, just the internal bleeding. And it would not have been a good 20 years either. In the 1970s, progression was made. There was sort of dried concentrate of factor 8 and factor 9 became available, but it's still, life was still pretty bad. In the 1980s, things took a real dive. Because the medication actually got better, things got worse. It has been in the news, it comes up quite often. There was a pretty harrowing cases, there was a lot of harrowing cases of it was haemophiliacs were treated with sort of concentrated blood transfusions, and a lot of that blood was contaminated, so that from that era there was a large portion of haemophiliacs who contracted HIV, hepatitis, AIDS from contaminated blood. It's called the contaminated blood scandal, and it was swept under the carpet to a certain extent. It really is an absolute tragedy for so many, and just deeply unfair. I was born in 1988, which means I missed that by the skin of my teeth, and that's where things really started to improve for haemophiliacs. I struggle to put into words just how fortunate I was and we were as a family to sort of been born into a country with a healthcare system like the NHS, and to be born into an era where haemophilia was in a place where it could really be helped. And that's what I'm hoping my Our Record story, or my just career story, the fact that I'm able to do what I can do on a bike, which is something I think prior to me being born would have been sort of unthinkable. So that's why we're doing this, and we're doing this in conjunction with Pfizer and their Haemo Heroes app, which it's like an extension of, not my story, but it shows what we can do. It shows there are still some limitations, like a boxing ring or a rugby pitch for a haemophiliac. Probably not the wisest decision just yet. And school can be a really daunting place. So the Haemo Heroes app will help youngsters, help their families, help their school classmates navigate haemophilia as to what it is, how it affects us, why we could be in school with our arm in a sling, but not without a plaster cast, which was something I used to find very difficult to explain. So it's helping young haemophiliacs navigate that in a really interactive way. There's games, there's fun, there's like scenarios. It's a very cool interactive app that I urge you to check it out just to learn a bit more about haemophilia. There's 7,500 of us in the UK. Majority are male. It's in the very most part it affects men. Women are carriers, so my mum is a carrier, my daughter Juliet is a carrier, but I have haemophilia with the way that it sort of works on the chromosomes. The future's super bright for haemophiliacs, certainly even brighter for haemophiliacs born now than it was for me, because like my treatment as a youngster was reactive, now it's preventative. It's called prophylactic treatment, which means it is there to stop problems happening rather than, for me, I would have internal bleeding episodes into my elbows or ankles, knees when I was a kid, and I have a bit of joint damage around that. Like one of my elbows, that's as much as it straightens and that's as much as it bends. That's from kind of accelerated arthritis style damage from internal bleeding into a joint capsule. But that's where we are, and you know, haemophilia's come such a long way. I think certainly my parents, if someone had told them when I was diagnosed at 18 months where we'd be now, I think they'd have, I don't know what they thought. I think they'd have been surprised, because I don't think we'd have been here. And you know, we're doing this hour record to show other haemophiliacs that they can too. You know, we don't want to show haemophiliacs that they can lead extraordinary lives. We just want to show them and their families that we can lead normal lives. And yeah, I think that's what the Haemo Heroes app helps encourage as well. So like I said, please check it out, please have a look. They're massive supporters of the hour record attempt. It wouldn't be happening without them, and it's also an initiative that I fully support as well. So it really is something great. But thanks for watching, and see you next time.